thanks to INTRAC for giving us the platform to have a conversation on how we shift the power, looking at monitoring and evaluation. Well, first of all, we need to understand the whole concept of shifting the power and where we're coming from. In no expert language, I'll put a disclaimer. I'm coming from a practitioner side and looking at what experiences working with indigenous organizations that keep struggling with monitoring and evaluation. And so looking at shifting the power, the whole concept is, from my understanding, is putting the local or the global south in charge of development, like the change. And so when you look back at monitoring and evaluation, way back, it has been a culture that monitoring and evaluation systems are designed in the north and downloaded in the south. Yeah. So we've seen donors coming. We have World Bank indicators. We have every donor with its indicators that comes and downloads down in the south where development is happening. So in a way, monitoring and evaluation, like Frank says, has been looked at as a control tool. Yeah. Also, Katie, opening remarks alluded to this, that it's more of looking at output and accountability. And so the shift has to start from there. How do we look at monitoring, evaluation, and learning as a tool that is going to enable development to happen in the global south? Yeah, so one, the shift will happen when there is trust and partnership rather than control and mistrust that M&E has been looked at in the current state. Yeah. So we need to also ask, while we are doing monitoring and evaluation, whose results are we looking for? Whose results which change are we looking for? Is it for the donor or the communities that interventions are implemented in? Yeah, so the shift also starts from that kind of thinking, orientation. If the change is for the people where programs are implemented, then there is need to have an inclusive process through which monitoring and evaluation indicators and systems are made, yeah, and have healthy partnerships. Now, there is need to have a conscious and deliberate departure from projectizing development. We all agree that development is taking a projectized model. We come for 2 years or 1 year, implement a project and leave. But also knowing that development doesn't happen, it's not cutting a stone, yeah? It takes a process. So how does development happen in a more progressive way? When we are talking about mindset change, mobilizing communities for change, how do we shift them from more of projectized as brief period programs to have kind of a gradual, empowering and transformative MEL system that will capture different phases of transformation and development, rather than looking at numbers, targets, we've reached this one, we want to reach so and so. Once it's done, development has happened. Development doesn't happen like that. And I think that's why we are having this conversation on how we shift power. Now, also to look at the background of M&E. Initially, most of the M&E systems have been designed for service delivery organization. For example, we are going to build schools, we're going to build hospitals, we're going to plant boreholes, increase access to water. But when you look at the new trend of, for example, in governance, and democracy. You know, these are not like a school structure that could see. Yeah. So how then do we rethink designing monitoring and evaluation systems that capture the non-tangible investments, the non-tangible programs in communities that will tell the story of transformation and change. The other area that also Frank talked about is on how M&E is expertized. Yeah, there is M&E. I mean, we've all gone through this experience. With all due respect to the M&E experts here, I mean, these guys know their place. The M&E experts, they come to the room, they tell you, they show you log frames, they show you this, and after that, they go. They leave you in a very confused state. But you need also know that when we're looking at change, it's the people that are going through a development process that will ably take charge of their story and be able to measure that. So if the shifting then has to happen in the way we look at monitoring and evaluation. Now, there's one key thing that I need to emphasize, the respect for the subsidiary principle. The subsidiarity principle, yeah, that people closest to the problem have the solution to this problem. And many times they effectively will tell the story of change that happens, yeah? So we need to put context to monitoring and evaluation and learning, especially the learning bit, yeah? If communities are empowered to tell their story, to count their change levels, then the shift will be realistic. We need to move out from the log frames. I think we already see the shift happening when there are theories of change that are coming in, that are more inclusive. But more to this is that we need to go down and work with communities. How do we empower communities to communicate their success? Then the challenge I have also with monitoring and evaluation and learning is that Sophie, it focuses on mainly.
Sorry to come in. Can you start wrapping up? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm on the last point.
Great.
Thank you. So just last 2 points. Communicating success. Monitoring and evaluation largely focuses on the success. How much are we achieving? What are we harvesting? What results are we harvesting? So, so focus, because it's also an accountability tool to the funder, focus is put on the success, but can we start looking at MEL systems that focus also on failure and how we learn from the points of failure? And lastly is the language. When we are reporting, and also the indicators. For example, when you look at the World Bank indicators, there are all these complexities in the wording, the language that is used in monitoring and evaluation. The first time I engaged with an M&E expert in my organization, way back in my former organization, they were talking of all these terms, the data bundles, the DQAs, they have all these acronyms. The language to a local organization deep in my village may not relate to this language. And sometimes how we write our reports doesn't fit in the language that is portrayed in the M&E. So one thing to also add is on how indigenous organizations or local communities can empower themselves to fit the global context, but also build confidence that they can actually receive the power that is shifting to them to inspire development. Thank you so much for listening.